everyone. Welcome to the 11th session of Ask Me Anything on Facebook Live, hosted by Inc42. This is Pallab from Inc42 team, and today we have with us Mr. Ramesh Abhishek, the Secretary of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. While individual ministries are usually responsible for one particular specific department that has been allotted to them, the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion takes care of the overall industrial policies of India and is also responsible for enhancing the growth of the industrial sector. The programs like Make in India and Startup India also falls under the purview of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, which makes Mr. Abhishek a key person impacting the industrial growth in our country. Mr. Ramesh is an IAS officer who has held numerous positions in the public administration before joining the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion in 2016. So we'll be discussing with him the government's initiatives for startups and the policies of government for different industries. So welcome to the show, sir. And I want to start with a couple of questions, and then we can start taking questions from the audience as well. Everyone who is tuned in right now, the comment section is open for you. You can put forward your questions for Mr. Ramesh regarding the government initiatives that the government is taking regarding the startups. So, it's no secret that the government is very serious about growing the entrepreneurial activities in the country. And Startup India is giving a momentum to that. So maybe can you share with us some of the figures or facts about how many startups have benefited from the Startup India scheme, and any other numbers that maybe you can help the audience understand?
See, in the last 1 year, 9 months or so, since Startup India program was launched, we have been able to help more than 14,000 startups in various ways. Almost 4,000 startups, 4,700 actually, have been recognized by DIPP, giving them a host of services and incentives and facilities. We have been able to provide 1,587 crore rupees of funds to startups. This has been through fund of funds or the various schemes of the Department of Biotechnology, Science and Technology, or HRD. We have also provided more than 1,300 crore rupees for setting up various types of infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of research parks, incubation centers, technology business incubators, startup centers, and so on. We have also answered more than 70,000 queries through our startup hub that we have, which is operated by Invest India. This has been since April last year. As a matter of fact, we also have a scheme for facilitating various startups for various IPR related work like trademarks and patents. And we have actually facilitated more than 1,000 facilitators who are actually helping the startups, and we have been able to help hundreds of startups in that. We rolled out a learning and development module January this year, and now 180,000 plus people are enrolled in that, and almost 8,000 have completed that module as well. We have also set up 941 tinkering labs in various schools. And through our fund of funds, as I mentioned, there have been large number of interventions. Not to mention the several regulatory changes that we have made, several marketing support that we are providing. For example, now startups don't need any earnest money deposit. They don't have any criteria of turnover or any other, these conditions have been waived for startups. So all these things have been done, and there is so much more to do. We realize that what we have done is only a work in progress for us. And our interventions in terms of setting up a credit guarantee scheme is also in the works. We are also working with regulators and Ministry of Corporate Affairs in easing so many laws, so many regulations. We are coming in the way of smooth working of startups.
So, sir, a lot is happening, of course. So, but we have like 29 states and 7 union territories, but only 16 states have, actual startup policies. Majorities of states still lack in a startup policy of the state. So, is central government taking any steps in encouraging the rest of the states to formulate their own startup policy in any way?
See, when Startup India program was launched last year in January, only 4 states had startup policies. By our efforts, and by the initiatives of states themselves. Today, 16 states have startup policies, and our teams from Startup India, they have worked with many states, and even today they are working with many states to help them make good policies, to help set up hubs, startup hubs that connects the startups with government and other enablers in the system. We feel that the contributions of state governments are very, very critical, because that's the only way in a large country like ours there can be a multiplier effect on the ground. Government of India is doing a lot. It will do much more, but then states are very critical. We had last year a conference of all the states, along with investors, incubators, and other stakeholders. This year again we held another conference, and so much has changed in the last 1 year. The states have come on board, and we are actually looking forward to states' much greater involvement in this promoting startups in the country.
So to follow up a little bit on that, we also heard about the state startup ranking framework that is coming up. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
This ranking of states and other institutions is actually helping focus attention on many of the issues that is part of the ranking framework. Once you start ranking states, there is a sudden realization this is a subject that needs attention. Also, the states learn from each other, their best practices. So I think it is basically drawing the attention of the decision makers to that particular issue. We have already consulted the states for our ranking framework, and by and large we have finalized it. And we are hoping that from 1st December, we would be able to roll out an index for ranking of states on their support to startup ecosystem. And we are also putting together a document in which we are documenting the good practices of all the states about their support to the startups. And this will actually help startups not only make good policies, good schemes, but also learn from each other. I think this evaluation in the public domain is very, very important.
Awesome. So while India is progressing in terms of ease of doing business, that was a huge jump that we saw recently, and also becoming the third largest country in terms of the number of startups that are working in the country. But at the same time, we have some challenges as well, be it climate change or pollution or infrastructural deficiencies. So how is government thinking of including startups in conquering these challenges?
Unfortunately, our support from the government to startups in India has started in a major way only in the last about less than 2 years. If you see other countries like US, they have been supporting startups for the last 40 years. Even UK, China, they have all been supporting startups for a long, long time. So that's why the amount of work that we need to do is quite a lot. So far as issues or challenges are concerned, that's a very important point. Today, more and more government departments are identifying the challenges and the problems and challenging the startups to come out with technical solutions. That's why you see that recently in March, April, a major hackathon was organized by the Ministry of HRD, in which a very large number of people and institutions participated. Similarly, we are having various collaborations with other countries also. So I think the challenges which our people face in terms of health, education, drinking water, waste management, all these are being posed to the startups, and we need to do more so that they come out with feasible solutions and cost-effective solutions.
Okay. So India, is forging a lot of international collaborations as well, as we see recently. So what are the key features of these partnerships, and how are they, really supporting the startups? If you can probably help us understand that.
The international connect for our startups is very important. We not only need to learn from others, we also need to work together on getting access to funds, getting access to markets. So I think our startups need to go out and work in other countries, and other countries, investors and startups from other countries are also welcome to work in India. That's why we are very keen, and we have been able to forge many collaborations. We recently had a innovation bridge with Israel when our Honorable Prime Minister had visited Israel in July this year. Similarly, we are having similar collaborations with Sweden, With Portugal also, we started such a similar activity in May when Prime Minister had visited Portugal. Similarly, we are having knowledge exchange program. We are planning to have a similar exchange program with Germany also. When Prime Minister visited Germany, in principle they agreed. So we have a lot of these activities lined up, and I think it's a win-win for everyone.
So I think let's start taking questions from the audience since we are pressed for time. So Sukanya is asking, the Startup India online hub has been creating a lot of buzz in the startup ecosystem. What are the major features and benefit it offers to startups?
See, we are looking at Startup Hub as a kind of one-stop shop for all startup ecosystem players. We want entrepreneurs to be connected to the hub. They should get access to online resources. They should be able to contact mentor. They should be able to contact some incubator and a funding agency. Similarly, investors should be able to access and get more choices in terms of startups and whom they like to, where they like to invest. We want all stakeholders of the startup hub, and we are finding that this networking, this connectivity is going to happen. I think about 12,000 people have already registered on the hub, but I think we need to do much more. So this is also a work in progress, but we are confident that this hub will really make a big difference in connecting the various ecosystem players.
So Rishabh Agarwal is asking, I'm living in a small village in CG. How can I bootstrap a startup there? I have potential but a lack of idea or guidance.
See, I had mentioned that many states now have their policies, and I think the best people to contact are the state government and their startup hub, those who have created startup hubs. You can also call our hub at 1800-115565, and you will be able to get some really good hand-holding support from our startup hub team.
So under the Startup India program, government has announced a credit guarantee fund for startups. What is the progress on notifying the fund and what benefits can startups expect from it?
See, the credit guarantee scheme will have a corpus of 2,000 crore rupees. We have planned that we would be funding about 7,500 startups with an average of 2 crore rupee of loan portfolio over a period of 7 years. So our target is to provide credit guarantee cover to 7,500 startups, 15,000 crore rupees of debt over a 7-year period. So it has all been recommended by the Ministry of Finance, and it is now pending consideration of the cabinet. And once the cabinet decision is approved, is obtained, we are going to roll it out at the earliest.
So Mr. Anupam Rana is asking, how can a startup participate in a government tender? How can Startup India help?
See, one of the important developments in the last 1 year has been creation of a government e-market platform, the GEM platform. And now we will be connecting the GEM platform to our startup hub so that all the registered startups in our department would be able to connect directly with the GEM platform. And all the facilities available to startups by way of exemption from criteria of turnover and prior experience and earnest money deposit will be factored into it automatically. So I think GEM will be a great platform to access all the government procurements in the next coming years.
So Alok is asking, what is the role of industry in collaborating with government for building a startup ecosystem? So he's asking how are the different industries they can collaborate with government for building a startup ecosystem?
See, what we find is that large companies have their advantages, but startups have the advantages of being innovative, of being nimble-footed, and it really helps if the large industries with their strength interact and work closely with the startups with their innovation and their creativity. We are finding this in so many incubators across the country. We are seeing it in international collaborations around the world. that industries can really benefit working with the startups. And that's why we find that such collaborations are actually happening now on the ground.
All right. So Sneha Dwivedi is asking, is it important for startups to be recognized for availing tax benefits?
See, we have this mechanism that you should have a registration with DIPP. And then there's an interministerial group that looks into the eligibility for a tax benefit. You will agree that we have to be careful when we provide any incentive from the government by way of tax incentives. So some amount of scrutiny is required, and we would be failing in our duty if we don't do that scrutiny and give this tax benefit to anyone indiscriminately.
All right. So Avantika Behel is asking, how does ease of doing business improve ranking will help startups?
See, the ranking improvement of 30 in the World Bank report is an indicator that ground level situation is changing. As you might know, the World Bank ranks countries based on their feedback from the ground, from the users and stakeholders, not based on the claims of the government. And this is only a reflection of the way things are changing on the ground. And we are aware that small businesses, and startups are small businesses by definition, are affected more by lack of ease of doing business. The large companies can even work in a difficult system. It is the small businesses like startups who have problems. So we are now making a complete change in the way government interacts with the people. And we are happy that the state governments are doing the same through our ranking of states, working on the World Bank report, and multiple other initiatives. We want to completely change the way businesses interact with the government.
So Pooja is asking, what are the new sectors gaining traction in the startup space?
See, first of all, the understanding of a startup was more like a tech startups. People who are coming with technological solutions and various apps and so on, which still holds good. But now we are finding that the many startups are now coming to solve the problems of the country, like in health sector or education sector or waste management and so on. So I think that's a very good development that now we have a lot of non-tech startups as well. Of course, in technology, as you might be aware, there are areas of artificial intelligence, IoT, Industry 4.0. There are so many multiple areas, additive printing, where the startups are really making a mark in our country.
So then again, the next question is, who should we reach out to in the government for accessing all these benefits?
See, if you see the Startup India website, you see our app. We also have a very good app, or the Startup Hub. You will be able to get all the information about the various initiatives, how to access those initiatives and all the incentives. And we have this hub where you can check out at DIPP-startups@nic.in. But I think on the Google itself, if you type on a search engine, you'll be able to get there very easily.
All right. So any new announcements or initiatives that are coming under Startup India that you would like to highlight through our platform?
We are finding as we work more and more in promoting startups, that there's so much to be done. Since nothing much was done for all these decades, we really have a big backlog. Access to funds is a big issue. Today we have, I just had a meeting with all the angel groups with the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Board of India. And we are trying to see how angel investor networks can also take advantage of Section 56 of the Income Tax Act. And that we are working on that, because now whatever money is invested by the angel investors, 1/3 of that goes as tax for the investing company. We are trying to make it easier, and hopefully there will be a change in regulation that will protect that investment. It's not government's intention to tax risky investments. We just want to be sure that there is a safe modality. So in the time going ahead, we are looking forward to a lot of favorable regulatory and legal changes that will make funds available to startups. We are hoping to connect startups with people in the government, public sector, and even private sector that will make them, help them find a market for their products and services. We saw today itself in the Pragati Maidan. We have 250 startups in our pavilion, and many of them are doing a great job. So connecting them to various government agencies, private sector, and others, I think will be a big help for startups. So we have a lot of ideas, and we'll be implementing them. And your feedback will be very helpful to us in that area.
So with that, we come to the end of this session of the Facebook Live Ask Me Anything show. Some really good answers from Mr. Ramesh, and I think now you will have better idea on how to find more resources on the Startup India website and Startup India Hub. So do check that out. If you want to know more about Startup India and all the policies and initiatives that the government is taking so far for startups. And with that, we will see you in the next AMA session soon. So stay tuned on the Inc42 Facebook page for the upcoming sessions. Thank you and see you next time.